From Movie Hero, it's Saturday night with your hosts, Jordan Anderson and Austin Pez Howell.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I promise you that going forward, I'm gonna cut that intro in half. Like that is a long intro, more of a showcase than like an actual intro. But welcome to Live from Movie Hero. Anyway.
Hey, there are some pieces of that oddly sync up with the music, like when Justin Timberlake is like dancing and John Snow, something like it almost oddly syncs up. So yeah, it's kind of
right. Kind of works, but yeah. So I'm one of your hosts, Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and I'm here with my co-host Austin Pez Howell. How are you doing?
On the show again. I can't wait to be on the show again. On the show again. Willie Nelson. So yeah, we got
Willie Nelson. Yeah,
we got one very strange episode, as we'll get into, and then one really good, memorable episode. So we'll see how the show goes. And with a host that me and Jordan are both very, very big fans of. So we'll get into that in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the first one, speaking of strange episodes, we're gonna go with the first one, which there are some good parts about it, but it's not all good. So we'll kind of dive into that. But yeah. So we're gonna start with season 12, episode 12, as we kind of continue to work our way through episode 12. It's season 12, even though it feels like we haven't done this show in forever because
we're in that mid-season. They always say there's a mid-season slog with SNL, right, Jordan? Yeah. And I think we're in that mid-season 12 slog where it's just like, I don't think the season's ever going to end. Like, there's so many episodes of the season, and even though it's always 20, episodes, it's just like oh my gosh, we're into like. We'll get into it, but yeah, I can definitely feel the
really halfway
some of the drag. Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, you said, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I thought you said Willie Nelson hosted this. I could have sworn it was Danny DeVito. We'll get into it, but I saw Danny DeVito on this episode a lot lately. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah. So it's host Willie Nelson, and he's also the musical guest. But then when there's kind of like a like guest host or like guest star, you could say, in Danny DeVito. So we'll see. But yeah, so this will be the one and only time Willie Nelson would host Saturday Night Live, but it's the second time that he's been the musical guest. He was also the musical guest
back in the 70s, right?
Yeah. So season 3 on December 10th, 1977, with host Mary Kay Place, which I have no idea who that is, but
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Mary Kay Place. If anyone knows who that
Must
is,
have been somebody who was really popular in 1977. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
My time.
Or like semi-popular, because even this season you got semi-popular people hosting episodes. But anyways,
yeah, I don't think Bronson Pinchot ever hosted again. Surprise.
No, surprise. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yeah, but yeah. If you notice though, Willie Nelson performed songs 6 times if you count the performance that he does with the church lady during church chat. So it's 6 times. So I had to definitely go and get the underground version of this, because on the Peacock they cut like over half the episode out pretty much. So
dude, yeah, they cut this thing to shreds, man. Like I had to scrounge to even get half of this episode watchable. I was scrounging the depths of the internet, and even then I could still barely find anything. But yeah, it's hard to find it when they get these musical guys to do it, because they get them to do all kinds of music all over the show, but like NBC just doesn't have the rights to all these songs, so they just cut everything out. And unless it's airing just on network television, which I think they because some of these are weird, Jordan, where when they used to air on Comedy Central in those hour-long reruns, they were able to show a lot of the music because it was shown on network television, but everything got weird with these streaming services and all these streaming rights to everything. Even the WWE, if you watch the network on there, they have to edit out certain old music things that they don't have the rights to.
That never really made any sense to me, because like when you see the reruns on like Comedy Central or even like VH1, they would show them in like they still had the music in it, but then once you go to streaming, it's like everything's cut out. There's no music. Half the sketches are gone. It's
a whole new set of laws and regulations and rules and all kinds of stuff going. Well, I think it's just because they bounce from. I mean, some of them have landed on their permanent networks, but when they were bouncing from platform to platform, that it gets into shady territory about how people get compensated, I guess, is where it all goes to the money, Jordan. Everything goes back to the money.
Yeah.
Who's getting compensated for what?
Which is sad, because when I was in high school, we made all these really funny, hilarious videos in my video broadcasting class. We even won a regional Emmy for one of the videos that we did. Made this horror movie that I'll have to show you sometime, maybe off air, because if I show it anywhere or on air, we're definitely going to get a copyright strike, because there's a whole bunch of different music in there. There's different characters, different things that nowadays we get totally copyrighted, so we can't put it online everywhere. But I have my own DVD with everything that we made. There's a lot of fun. Like we made some pretty cool stuff, but it's never going to see the light of day, sadly, because of copyright.
Oh man, sad.
Yeah,
maybe in the early days of YouTube, before they started copyright and striking everybody. Remember those days back in the days of YouTube, before they started copyrighting everybody, and you could just do whatever you want. It was the Wild West.
Yeah, the Wild West. Yeah. But yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into this episode, though. So the very first thing we have was the cold open, which was the after lifestyles of the rich and famous, with Dana Carvey playing Robin Leach, and then you have Phil Hartman playing what's his name, the
Liberace again.
Yeah,
again, and because he had died. If you remember, all the way back 8 or 9 years ago when we did our last episode, Liberace was in the opening of the last episode we did, because he had just passed away. So we talked about that, where he just made a brief appearance and they jumped into it. But it's surprising they did another thing with Liberace kind of in the afterlife. And like you said, afterlife of the rich and famous with Robin Leach. I'm yelling, I don't know why. Dana Carvey doing his little.
Don't know why.
I don't know why. Yeah, no, that little brief bit is on the Best of Dana Carvey DVD. They have a little montage in the middle of the DVD with some of his impressions, just little bits and pieces here and there. And he's got a good nasally impression of Robin Leach.
Yeah. Well, so since I got to see it and you
Mhm.
didn't get to see it because it wasn't included with the Peacock, I'll just kind of to break down the sketch here. Maybe tell you some of the more memorable lines, but like basically though, like he's the narrator, so he's like, join me on a jaunty joyride to the gigantic kingdom of the great Jehovah, where we'll search out celestial celebrities who thought they were safe from me because they're dead. This week on a special edition of After Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. So like basically, like he just starts out with the whole like, hello, I'm Robin Leach, I'm yelling and I don't know why. He's like, I'm in heaven and I'm not dead, I'm just visiting. But like basically, like he just standing at the pearly gates and he like talked about how the pearly gates are made of real pearls. They're 47 stories high, I guess. And then the cost back on Earth, it would cost you nearly $1 billion. but the cost in heaven, nada, zero, zip. God just made them, and I don't know why. So yeah.
Well,
And
it is odd to have gates on a cloud. Like, how
Yeah,
far
right.
does this wall go? It's like those sections of the Mexican border that have like walls up to a certain point, and then it just stops.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's-
is that how it is?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
right,
know. Can you
Yeah.
walk around it at some point? I don't know.
Yeah, but basically he just comes to Liberace and he's like, why Robin? What a surprise! You're the last person I ever thought I'd see here. And they kind of act like they're old friends, and he's acting he's like. It was like, Libby, it looks like you got the last laugh. Tell us what it's like up here. He's like, well, Robin, what's heavenly? I'm in heaven. It's like he makes a joke. He's deceased, and he makes a joke, and then he's like, basically, they just kind of just go back and forth, just like acting like they're old friends. I mean, there wasn't really like a real. I feel like almost like there wasn't like a real point to it. Just kind of them having some small talk, kind of just going back and forth.
Just
So,
them
like,
get chummy in the afterlife. Yeah.
yeah, but like basically though, like he wants to know like what his experience in heaven was like, kind of just like interviewing that. So he was like, well, I was bathed in white lights, just endless peace and warmth and love. I lifted higher and higher, and then I entered a rhinestone tunnel which I shot through at the speed of light. And when I reached the end, there was a chorus of friends and angels singing and greeting. You know what they're singing, Robin? Oklahoma. So he's like really playing out the whole like gay thing, you know, and like all of that. So so yeah. But yeah, basically though, like he just talks about, but like all he does all day long, like he's like, oh yeah, he's like what do I do all day? Well, what don't I do all day long? I mean, I play the piano, and well, I love playing the piano, and like we just make it seem like he's just up in heaven playing the piano 24/7 all the time. But then, so like near the end though, they have
John Lovitz showed up as Satan, right? That's his like devil character. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I always butcher the proper name. It's like Mephistopheles or like
Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles, I think.
Yeah, right. I always butcher that, but he's like, well, what a surprise! The elusive Lucifer here in person. What are you doing here? Like, I used to live here. He's like, oh, now he puts on a non grata, cast into the pits of fire for eternity, a fall from grace for this demented demon. He's like, well, I still work here, Robin. You see, I'm the bouncer. He's like, time to go now, Robin. All right, time to go. And he's like, well, I'm not a sinner. I'm a television personality. I have 3 shows, and I don't know why. But like, basically, it's like him taking him off to hell when he was just there for a visit to like interview people, and then he ends up in hell by the end. So he's just like, I'm Robin Leach, and I'm going to hell, and I don't know why. And then it's just like live from New York. It's Saturday Night. So.
Did they ever explain? So is Robin Leach dead in the sketch, or is he just up there for interviews?
He's just up there for interviews, so he's not dead. So like he's just interviewing people, but then.
So is I guess is he off to? He's off to interview people in hell then next, maybe.
Yeah, right.
John Lovitz. I don't know.
That'd be funny if you see another sketch where he's like interviewing people in hell.
Yeah. Right. Okay. But I wonder how I guess he brought a camera crew with him too, down there and up there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, but that was the end of that. So we have the opening monologue. Did you get to see the opening monologue?
No, because I think it was just him doing a song, right? Like with his
Yeah,
band. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, not anything really comedic, right? It was just him doing a song, doing a Willie
yeah.
Nelson song.
He didn't really even say anything. He just came out. He just played this song, and then he says introducing Danny DeVito too, like at the end. And
Okay,
that's it. And I'm like, all
sure.
right, like on to the
All
next.
right, moving on. Yeah.
but but the first sketch though, they had a repeat from the episode that was hosted by Sigourney Weaver. There's one. It was a commercial for General Dynamics.
Mm.
They're like, where it's just like this like couple that's like acting like they're on a date and they're acting all like sensual. They're like, "You're gonna come back to my place," or like there's this like we do these plans that you have. Do they involve me? And she's like, "Oh yeah," and she's leaning up against this car, kind of like acting all like sensual, like they're gonna go back to his place and like get busy back at her place or whatever. And so it's just like,
oh, this is the one that's
back and forth.
sponsored. That has the weird sponsored by the Defense Department thing at the end. Is that what that was? Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was the.
Yeah.
So they didn't show that on the Peacock version of this one, but I think I remember seeing that when we watched the Sigourney Weaver version. Yeah, it was just like one of those weird things where they throw like the button at the end where it's like it throws you off about like what it was actually advertising or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like General Dynamics, the leader in general defense technology, and you're like, okay,
okay,
sure,
yeah, sure, why not?
Whatever you say. Yeah.
Well, but I think on the next episode or the one after they replayed the McSushi thing. Like, you know, I told you a lot of these things when they do them earlier in the season, SNL tends to repurpose a lot of those commercial spots kind of later in the season. They'll just to fill time, you know, they'll fill in like a 2-minute gap with a replay of something. Like remember we talked about the Schmitz Gay, how they replayed that like every other episode that season when they first debuted. Yeah, like every other episode they replayed it.
It's weird because like in the current season they don't really replay anything because they're like fighting for like people to get time, so it's kind of like
right.
Yeah. But the next sketch though, we had the first great moments in the history of white trash presented by NBC. So it's NBC presents the history of white trash. You didn't get to see any of those, did you?
No, oddly enough, and it didn't seem like we were talking about this before the show, but like there wasn't any like copyrighted music or anything, right? Like I don't understand why these little segments couldn't have been added to a 30-minute Peacock episode, but like because there was just a series. It was almost like MacGruber, right? It was like a series of like 3 different things throughout the show, right?
Yeah. Like basically, like the sketches don't really make a whole lot of sense as to what they're supposed to be, but it's just at the end you have Willie Nelson coming in and like calling them white trash and like saying, but they're still good people though, but they're white trash. So like basically, like for this one, you have Danny DeVito and Nora Dunn in a coffee shop drinking coffee on their wedding night, and so Nora Dunn's like, what do you say that we drive up to Lookout Mountain and we have ourselves a little honeymoon? And then Danny was like, I was gonna mention that dearie. I think we're gonna have to do that next week. The Trans Am's up on blocks, and they have a little conversation and that kind of like builds up to that, but wasn't really anything interesting. I didn't write it all down. But then,
well, isn't like the punchline is they're kind of getting like sensual, but like Willie Nelson comes on and says that they're first cousins or something like that, which is why it's like a white trash thing. Isn't it something like that? That's like the button on it.
It's kind of like that. They're just doing it like white trash thing. So like, so he says, look how the Trans Am's up on blocks. So like that's kind of like a white trash. Like a lot of white trash people drive Trans Am's and stuff. So it cuts to Willie Nelson. It's like Carl never did get the Trans Am fixed. Just sat there in front of the yard with its hood off and until they got a divorce. Sure, they were good people. He's like, this has been another great moment in the history of white trash. But he's like still they were good people despite them being white trash and having their Trans Am up on blocks, I guess. So like it was all right. Like it wasn't anything super funny.
There was a lot of redneck talk on this episode. Like it was like a theme of just
Yeah,
like
it was, yeah.
yeah. Like we'll talk about it. There's some of the later sketches, but yeah, there was. This is like just because Willie Nelson's hosting, we got to make it every sketch
Yeah,
or
right.
something be like about rednecks or Peckerwoods or whatever. You know, something.
right.
You know, this,
Right,
that, and the
yeah.
other. It was very strange. Yeah, like that was all he could do.
Well, like the thing is for me that makes it funny is that it's just Willie Nelson saying it, but like besides that, like they would have like Phil Hartman come out and say it, probably wouldn't have been as funny, but to have him say it kind of works.
Right.
But yeah, that was the end of that one. So next one was the Police Wire sketch. You got to see that one,
no,
right?
I actually got to see this, and I'm glad because I think we both agreed this was probably the best sketch on the show, like pretty easily, like by a mile. And oddly enough, it didn't involve Willie Nelson at all. This one was mainly Danny DeVito thing, and yeah, it's like a setup where DeVito's with Kevin Nealon and A. Whitney Brown, and they're getting them like wired up, you know, and they're like, all right, Angelo, I think his name's Angelo, like, all right, Angelo, we're gonna wire you up, and you know, you're just small fry, Angelo. We want Fat Tony, we want the big guy, you know, like, you know, and if you don't do this, you know, you're gonna go to jail for your tax problems, you know, you'll be facing 3 years or whatever. And he's like, all right, yeah, I'll get the info, you know, I'll get Fat Tony, you know, blah blah blah. So like it's just a setup, and then he goes upstairs and to meet with John Lovitz, who plays Fat Tony. Yeah, and they have a little mob meeting.
Yeah, and you can see Danny DeVito's kind of nervous. He's like, if Fat Tony finds out about this, I'm a dead man. And he's like, well, you can still back out of it, Angelo. If you do, you're gonna have to talk to the IRS about your little tax problem or whatever. And then like they're gonna come down on hard, looking at 3 years. He's like, look, you guys gonna get me off, right? It's like, sure, Angelo, we don't want you. I mean, you're small fry. We want Fat Tony's. So then goes upstairs and they have Phil Hartman kind of playing like the little lackey to John Lovitz as Fat Tony. So yeah, he goes upstairs and he just tries to get all this information on him, but it kind of backfires on him.
Well, basically, the idea of the sketch is that in these revelations through the small talk, you know, the FBI people think that Angelo is just like a flunky or whatever, but it turns out he's actually way up in the organization, and they keep kind of spilling it out in the small talk. Like, you know, they're just like, all right, you know, let's sit down, let's have a drink, we'll talk business in a minute, you know, and they're kind of just making chit chat, and they'll be like, oh man, you remember Angelo, was like the time you knocked off Frankie at that Rangers game, you know? yeah. That was a great hit, you know? And he's like, you know, you see Danny like shaking, he's just like, well, that wasn't really me, that was like somebody else, you know? That was this, and then he's like, well, you know, you losing. Phil Hartman's like, Phil Hartman's like, what are you done so many, you losing track now? What are you up to? About 40 hits now, something like that. And he's just like freaking out because it's all being recorded, obviously, and all this stuff is coming out, and he's talking about like, oh yeah, we got some big business to take care of because Don Marchese's coming up here, and he's like, Don Marchese, and he's like, oh yeah, the head of the Marchese family. Oh man, this must be something really, really big. You know, he's kind of being like, this is big business. So and
well, like I just like even like all the little like Italian small talk between them, where like he's where he's like, let's see, what does he say here? Oh, he's like, hey, Fat Tony, I brought you a little wine. You look good. You took off a few pounds. It's like, well, Angelo, you put on some pounds. Too much cannoli, huh? Too much cannoli,
yeah, right.
They're kind of jabbing each other and back and forth. But like when he said the thing about the Rangers game, he was like, well, that wasn't me, was it? That wasn't me. And he's like, wasn't you? Well, Angelo, you've done so many that you're losing track. He's like, I don't blame you. What is that? 30, 40 hits?
30, 40 hits,
yeah. Yeah. Like, look, guys, We here to do business or what? And let's discuss business here. Come on.
Yeah, he keeps trying to get down to business. Let's talk business. Come on, let's talk real. And he's like, well, if Don Marchese's coming up here, what do you guys got a big drug deal going down? And,
Yeah.
and then Phil Hartman's just like, are you kidding me? If we wanted to do a drug deal, we go right to you. You everybody knows you run all the heroin on the East Coast, you know. And he's like,
Yeah.
that's not. I mean, come on, I had help. I mean, don't be modest. Don't be modest. Come on.
Wait a minute now. Yeah, it wasn't me. Yeah.
Don't be modest. You ran everything.
Yeah.
You're the guy. You're the guy we go to for the drugs. He's oh God, oh no.
He's like, they said you couldn't double our smack profits. Well, they thought they were crazy.
Tripled them.
Tripling it. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then essentially it continues when Dana Carvey finally gets there. He's playing Don Marchese, and he's like got all the slick back hair. You know, he's got like the slick back hair and like a pinstripe suit, you know, and he's just like, oh, I've been wanting to meet you, Angelo. Hey, can you believe I'm talking to the guy that Angelo, but the Angelo who knocked off Lieutenant Patrick, you know, who killed the lieutenant? And he's just like, oh, no, I can't believe you're the only one they never solved. It's the only unsolved police murder in history. You know, I guess still remember the headline: 8 kids, or family man with 8 kids slaughtered. Just like, and Danny DeVito's just like shaking and like freaking out. Oh no, they're just like ragging him.
And he's like, so what are you guys up to now? You know, some government bribes or something? You looking to knock off a few people? Let's go. Like, what is it? And then he's like, in fact, Tony's like, well, Don Marchese, have a seat here. And they're like discussing what they're going to do. But he's like, no, it's come to my attention that both of our families have a regrettable problem. And he's like, oh, I'm all ears. And he's like, what's an image problem? Now it's time we did something about it. Now last Wednesday I was talking to Archbishop McGrath, and I found out that Our Lady of the Peace in Queens needs a new outdoor basketball court for the kids. Now here's my proposal. The Marchese family will supply the blacktop, and the Tartucci family will provide the backboards, the hoops, and the netting. And he's like done. he's like, wait,
that's what you guys came together for? It's for like a basketball court? That's it?
Yeah.
No hits, no bribes, no nothing. Yeah, and he's like, no, come on, it's important business. And
yeah. We just finished it off with the big toast. Everybody's just like, salute.
Yeah, well, he goes, and a side thing is that he goes, oh, and we heard about your little tax problem, Angelo, and guess what? We're gonna take care of it. We bought off the judge, so he didn't even have to go to the FBI in the first place because they bought off the judge. So now he's gonna be going to jail for murder and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of an abrupt ending, but it was still like easily, probably. I like the premise of it, and it was a pretty well written sketch. DeVito was really good with all of his kind of nervous energy trying to push the conversation. It was pretty funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So the next sketch, we have another moment another great moment in the history of white trash. So since you didn't see it, I'll just kind of break it down. But like basically for this one, you have Jan Hooks working in a diner, and you have Phil Hartman as the patron. He just comes in, and then so it comes in. And Jen Hooks is like, hi there, what's your pleasure, stranger? They're like totally southern redneck, and then Phil Hartman's like, I'll go for one of them French dips. And he's like, sure thing, sugar. You want a donut too? He's like, you're sassy. I like that. What time you get off work? He's like, well, what's it to you? I want to take you out and I want to buy you the thickest steak in town. And she's like, well, I don't get off until midnight. That's a little late for eating. Don't you think? And he's like, well, why don't we just go down to the hotel room and shack up? He's like, what kind of car you got? Trans Am. He's like, bring the bottle, because she's like excited because they're both rednecks, and so it's all about the Trans Am again. Yeah, but then Willie Nelson comes in. He's like, Audra Foley wanted to become an overweight divorcee with a pack of illegitimate children. She never amounted to much, but she sure was good people. This is another great moment in the history of white trash. So it's like all about Or like the Trans Am or something weird like that. It's kind of weird. It doesn't really
I
make a lot
mean,
of sense.
yeah, it's such an old joke about like people having Trans Ams on blocks in their front yard. Like it's just, I guess that's where they all ended up. Yeah, I mean that's stuff like an old Jeff Foxworthy thing or something. Like if you have a Trans Am up on blocks in your front yard, you might be a redneck.
Right.
You know, like okay.
If you're raking your leaves and you uncover a car, you might be a
right.
Or something like that. Yeah. But yes, so the next one we have church chat. Was the next one. So you didn't see that one
God,
either.
how do they have Jordan? How do they have like a church chat on almost every single episode of this season?
Yeah.
And yet, like this episode on the Peacock didn't have the church chat. The one thing they've had on every single episode of church chat out of like 10 out of 12 episodes on season 12, and they don't have this one. I think I've seen a piece of this on the Dana Carvey DVD. I think there's a brief piece of like does Danny DeVito sing a little bit with Church Lady in this one?
Oh no,
no.
What's Willie Nelson at the end?
I've seen a piece though with Danny DeVito singing with her. That must be a different episode, like later.
Oh,
must be something.
Was a part of it where they're doing the Superior dance together? They do that, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's that, but okay.
Yeah.
Must be a Mandela effect. I could have swear I remember seeing Danny DeVito sing with her at some point.
But like this one though, like they kind of do up the church a little more like bombastic kind of.
Mm-hmm.
They really have the echo when she says Satan. There's like a really booming echo for it when she says it this time.
They finally figured it out.
Yeah. They finally figured it out. But like some of the funny things is, so for the first guest they have Danny DeVito, and like when he comes in, she like stands up and like grabs his shoulder to like push him down in the chair because like he's like hooting and hollering. I mean like woo yeah, church lady, everyone give it up for church lady. She's like sit down, and he like pushes him down or something, like grabs his shoulder and like shoves him into the seat or something. But she's like well, let's not encourage that kind of behavior in the future, all right? but then she's like, well, hello, Daniel. It's a pleasure to have you here, because she always like calls people by their proper name or whatever. But
Daniel DeVito, is that what he's something like that?
Daniel DeVito.
Daniel DeVito. But she called Willie Nelson like William or something later, or did she call him Willie?
Yep.
Okay.
William, yeah. But he's like, thanks for having me on, church lady. And then he gives like a sarcastic smile, and she's like, well, I'm glad you know my name. And then she starts talking about his wife, Rhea Perlman. So he like says, so Dan DeVito says how his wife, Rhea Perlman's often in California with their two kids shooting the show Cheers, because they were married at the time. And so so she's like, oh, I see it. So our wife has to take care of the children while we just roam off to anywhere we please. Apparently some of us are just married when it's convenient. So, yeah.
I thought, but wouldn't church lady be like more about the proper wife taking care of the kids while the dad works? Isn't that what the church is all about sometimes? About like the wife just being home with the kids, making babies, taking care of the household? Yeah. Like they always have to always twist. I think church lady might be a little bit of a hypocrite, Jordan. Yeah. This might be a little bit strange. Always looking for faults in people.
She just looks for any reason to like find a fault in someone, no matter what it is. But Dan DeVito says that he's here to plug his new movie Tin Men, which I've never heard of it.
Tin Men. See, that's the thing. I thought that they were doing 87. 87 was around the time he was doing with Billy Crystal. He was doing Throw Mama from the Train. So I thought that would maybe why he was on there, or that might have been 88. But like, I thought he'd be plugging that. I'm gonna look up Tin Men real quick while you're talking about that. I want to look at this Tin Men. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, apparently it's about like two rival aluminum siding salesmen, and has Richard Dreyfuss in it, and then they get revenge on him. Richard Dreyfuss tries to sleep with his wife or something. So, but yeah,
Barbara Hershey.
Yeah. So, but when it says Tin Men, so she's like the church lady, which is like, so you're here to promote little movie Tin Men? He's like, no, it's 10 Men. He's like, try not to creep me on my own show, Daniel. Thank you. but he's like, well, among other things, it's about two rival aluminum siding salesmen, and one guy has an affair with the other guy's wife. He's like, oh, so it's a movie about adultery. He's like, no, it's not about that. It's more of a comedy. And he's like, and what's our rating, Daniel? Could it be R? And that apparently someone has to use the F word to be funny. Yeah, but he's like, now, he's like, come on now, church lady, what's your problem? You're on a tizzy here. You look like you haven't had your ticket punched since Ike carried his own golf clubs. I mean, come on. And she looks all like offended, kind of nervous. And then he's like, wasn't that special? It's like we're feeling a little bit superior, and then they have a little superior dance off. Yeah. So they do that. Yeah, and then he's like, when the church leader is like, and who encouraged us to leap up and do a little strut, Daniel? Could it be? Oh, I don't know. I'll just have to take a little stab in the dark here. Could it be Satan? But that's when there's like a really big echo though. Like we kind of like booming. But then so that's the end for Danny DeVito. But then you have Nora Dunn coming on playing Ann Landers, but I didn't even write anything down because I thought that it was like pretty boring. She didn't really have anything funny.
She already did the Ann Landers thing on one of the other church ladies, if I remember, where she read some like a letter from a corny housewife or something, and like church lady gets all offended, like something like that.
Yeah, this time she's like basically doing but kind of the same thing, but like I didn't really find it very funny. So, but I did write down some notes when Willie Nelson comes on, because the church lady obviously calls him William, and then Willie Nelson brings him brings a church lady present. So she like opens it. She's like really excited. She's like ripping it open super fast, and then it ends up being a red cowboy hat. So she's like, so how do I look? Do I look like a little cowgirl now? How am I supposed to talk now? And Willie's like, well, you got to twang it up a little bit. And then he's like, oh, well, ain't that special? Ain't that just special?
Jeez.
He's like, yippee ko yeah, or kaye, let's go out riding on the range. And then they sing a little duet that's like, you don't bring me flowers anymore, something like that. But when they sing, they kind of act like super cutesy, like she's kind of like she's falling for him or something like that. So they have this little.
Well, he's putting on. Well, Jordan, you see, he's putting on the Southern charm, which is really flattering the church lady, putting on that Southern charm and twang.
Yep.
For the church lady.
Southern charm, but like basically it just ends at the end of the song. That's the end of that sketch. So yeah. But the next thing that I had was Weekend Update, and I just wrote a huge bomb.
Even like you could hear in this Weekend Update the air getting sucked out of every joke. Like even Dennis Miller was like struggling to like, he would deliver these half punchlines that didn't really go anywhere, and sometimes they weren't even like punchlines. He would just like end the story and just like sit there for a second. And you could feel the fact that he just bombed. Like really he's waiting for it, but it's not there, so it just gets awkward. And see, the difference between him and somebody like Norm Macdonald is like when Norm Macdonald would bomb, like he doesn't care if he bombs, so he'll deliver the punchline and then just like lean forward and just kind of smile, just like
just kind of smile at it, yeah.
And then you just move on because he doesn't care. He loved if he just bombed or the audience hated it, and like I think Dennis Miller just doesn't know what to do. Like, I don't know what the difference was, Jordan. Remember like an episode or two ago where he was doing like all these more pop culture jokes and it was kind of zippy and like funny and like it was a little bouncier and like it was good. It seemed like somebody else wrote it. And then today it was like
condom at the end.
Yeah. And then it was like right back to the political humor that just like doesn't work. And like, it was just
all these weird names of people I've never heard of. I'm just like,
he was like, oh, Nancy Reagan and Donald Regan, and I was like, is that supposed to be like Reagan and Reagan? Like, what is going on here?
Well, yeah, like what is
they
that?
were prank calling each other. Like, I don't know who this is, dude. Like, it's just he's just making all these jokes, and I just don't know who these people are. And then like he's making jokes about like Chinese people just being like horny people because of the population. I was just like, what is going on here, dude? Like, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Yeah. Like, the only thing I literally wrote down was Victoria Jackson was the highlight, doing her little like kind of airheaded correspondent character, you know, like the correspondent. And she like, I don't remember really what she was talking about, but and she does, but she legit like 100%. I would say if anybody just wants to see it, like she legitimately does like a gymnast handstand on the desk, like a total straight up and down handstand. It's her. It's not like a stunt person. Like she holds it for like 15 to 20 seconds. Like it's pretty astounding. And the whole thing is she's got on like these American flag like boy short kind of underwear things, and Dennis Miller's just like saluting it while she's talking about America or something. And the best part is she swings back down and lands in a split. I was like, she lands in
a split. I was like, whoa,
very nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
I was like, that's damn impressive. And the audience was like, it woke up the audience. I think the audience was in a coma until this, but like once she started doing all this, the audience was like, oh man, like this is damn impressive. And then of course they get this high note with Victoria Jackson, and then immediately A. Whitney Brown comes out for the big picture, and the audience is like,
it's like, but
and just I don't even know what he's talking about. He's talking about like Russia, and then he's talking about China, and he's talking about like I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Like it's just it's so bad, dude. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's like immediately fast forward. Yeah,
but every time A. Whitney Brown comes on to do the big picture, I just skip. Every time I don't listen to a word of it.
It was so bad. At least it was short. It was actually short. It was only like 45 seconds. But even though he does it, it feels like 5 minutes every time. And like, I feel like he's done ones that were legitimately longer, but like, oh my God, it just sucks the air out of everything. I'm so over A. Whitney Brown's big picture. I'm just done with it. I'm just so done.
But at least Dennis Miller, we have like one kind of halfway sort of funny online where like after she does the like handstand in the split, he's like God, I love this country or something like that.
No, I mean he's
the whole thing that even
most of the stuff when he's funny is when he's kind of improvising a little bit, like in between some of the stuff, like just making little comments. But like when you could tell, man, when he's just writing his own material, like it's just bad. He needs to let other people like write his weekend updates, because I mean we watched that one where it was like really fun, like he was hitting good jokes, like it was kind of he had a lot of off the wall stuff that was a lot of fun. And then as we'll see later in the Conan episode, it's not to jump ahead, but it's like Jimmy and Tina doing it, and like it's literally just like a 4-minute weekend update with just a bunch of jokes, and then they cut out and it's like done, and I'm like that was refreshing. That was it was like quick, it was to the point, they hit a couple of good punchlines and we're out, like it was just
we brought some energy to it, it's just kind of
so I don't know, but I'm just over a lot of these weekend updates.
Same here. But
I wish they would just cut the weekend update from Peacock and just add something else.
Right.
I'm just done with it.
They're never gonna cut the weekend update except for little things here and there. If someone like plays a song,
Ever.
Cut a little
bit.
But the next sketch that we have is the redneck tanning parlor. And you did get to see
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, I saw that one. So I mean, the idea of this is it's like a truck stop tanning parlor, and it's like just for rednecks, but it's not like real rednecks. It's all these people trying to pretend to be rednecks. So they're getting like a spray on the farmer's tan, just like the arms and like what you would get if you were wearing just like a full t-shirt, like on your face and your arms and your neck and all that kind of stuff. So it's them just getting the spray on in like those places, but it's like super, super red. Like it literally looks like you just got obliterated by the sun. It's not even like orange, like Donald Trump orange. It's like completely fire red.
Fire.
And but I think we see, what was it? Victoria Jackson is like one of the attendants. She's dressed up like a nurse. Like she's not even like looking like a attendant. She's like a nurse. And there's like Kevin Nealon just being like, "Oh, I got red in all the right places," And he's like, I got a desk job, but it looks like I've been on a tractor all day, something like that.
He's like, I've been running the back all summer when in fact I've been in an office job for 2 years or something. Yeah.
Yeah, right. He's like he's like a fake redneck. Yeah.
Yeah. But like surprisingly though, like I kind of like how Jan Hooks, she like really brings up the like southern accent. She kind of turns it up to 11. She's like number 16, attention, I say yes, the assistance.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Take a number, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
John Lovitz comes in, right, with his like goofy mustache and shit. And he say his last name's like Goldstein or something, which is like kind of a joke.
Yeah.
He's like pretending to be a redneck. He's like a Jew. And he's just like some city Jewish guy.
Or something like that.
Goldstein. Yeah, right. And he wants to get like he said he's got a problem because he got like a natural tan, but he wants to get like a fake tan, and they tell him he's got to do like a full body peel or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, look, then like cuts back to Jan Hooks, and she's like, attention, please, Mr. Galloway, please report to the reception desk for customer service. So I think Mr. Galloway is Willie Nelson. So like that comes out.
Yeah, he's like the manager of the place. Yeah, he's like running it. Uh-huh.
But like, there's another one where like Phil Hartman comes in, so he's like playing like a Curtis, and he's like, what happened? Victoria Jackson's like, what on earth happened to you? And then he's like, well, it was pretty dumb. I was driving a rig all last week, and my arm hanging out of the seat.
His arm was hanging out of the window. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, you
got to even it out.
Want to even it out? He's like, yeah. Like, wait a minute, how come it's your right arm that's red? He's like, well, I was driving in England or something like that. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, he's trying to cover it up, saying he's driving in England. Yeah. And Willie Nelson is like talking to Lovitz, and he's like doing some inspirational speech about how like the days of the Cracker Peckerwood are going to be over soon, and how it's like celebrating redneck culture. It's like supposed to be this like inspirational, like they get like really close up on the camera, and it's supposed to be like this inspirational little speech, and then like right after it's over, they start wheeling like a body behind them. They're like, oh, there's like some alarm goes off, and there's like an emergency. Yeah, it's like a super charred body. Like literally, it's like you can tell it's just like a mannequin, but it's like smoking. And he's all like charcoal black. And then Willie Nelson's like, well, there goes our liquor license. I guess we can't do Tequila Tuesdays anymore. Or whatever he says. I'm just like, oh, geez. Some guy fell asleep or passed out in the tanning booth.
Yeah. And then they have a little thing where like a little kid comes out too, and he's like, hi, mom. He's like, oh, he looks perfect. He looks so cute. So cute. Thank you, Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, he's just like covered from head to toe with fire red. Yeah, no, it was so exaggerated. Yeah. It wasn't a bad little sketch. I mean, they, it was okay. It wasn't too long. It was decent. I mean, it wasn't anything like super, super memorable, but for what it was, I thought it was all right. Yeah, it was okay.
And I think that John Lovitz does like really good accents. They really had the like southern accent down, to the point where he sounds like a whole different person. He didn't sound like himself. I'm like, whoa, that didn't sound like him.
He's really underrated as a performer on SNL, as we're kind of seeing in this thing. Like, because I mean, even if you think about this episode, because he does that, but then like he did the Fat Tony thing earlier, where he's just like playing the Italian guy, and like he was pretty good as that. Like I kind of bought it, and he can do it. He can do a lot, man. Like he's really underrated as one of the guys here.
What was the episode where you playing some kind of 70s rocker, and it's like,
oh no, yeah, when he did the
what kind of drugs they're addicted to or something like that.
Yeah, when he was doing the Garcia thing or whatever. Yeah, when he was just
that was
like,
really good too.
Not guilty. Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah,
when he snapped out of it.
Yeah.
No, he's really underrated. I'm glad. Like, if you go back and watch it, John Lovitz. Like a lot of people kind of overlook him and think he only did like they really don't remember like the actor, the method actor guy or whatever, and the liar is kind of the only things I remember. But like he's really low key, like a really good performer. Yeah. Speaking of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, right. But the next thing, we have Willie Nelson singing a song called "Partners After All." I don't really
sure. Why not?
I don't listen to any of his music, so Not for me.
I like the idea of Willie Nelson music more than I actually like Willie Nelson music, if that makes any sense.
Same here.
You know,
I'm glad that he exists, but he's not.
He's more of an enigma,
kind of thing.
Like not somebody I'd actually listen to.
Yeah,
you know, like the idea of Willie
He
Nelson just like smoking weed in a trailer, like singing country songs, but I don't actually want to sit down and listen to Willie Nelson music. I know it's weird, but yeah.
Yeah. But
he's one of those guys that's gonna like live. He's one of those guys that's gonna like live forever too. Like he's like 80. And he's gonna live forever. He's never gonna die.
Yeah, right. Just so much weed it just like sustains him or whatever. I don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, but the next sketch we have another great moment in the history of white trash. This is the third one, and in this one you have Kevin Nealon in there, and he's like, I could sit here and eat donuts all day long. And he has a friend there, who I think is actually A. Whitney Brown is actually in there. He's like, if I could too,
he shows up here there.
He's like, I would too if I had the money. But he's like, yeah, well, I got it made in the shade. I met a welfare mother with 7 kids. The money's just rolling in it. He's like, are you fixing to marry her? He's like, hell no. They cut the benefits off like that. He's like, I may be dumb, but I ain't no fool. And he's like, hey, what say we go for a ride in your new Trans Am? He's like, why not? The government's paying for the gas or something like that. Some other joke about a Trans Am. But another one. But then Willie Nelson comes in. He's like, Clinton Johnson, sure was a no account good for nothing. He went on to serve 5 years for kiting checks. Still, he was good people. This has been another great moment in the history of white trash. So just like another thing about Trans Am or something weird. But
yeah, and all white trash think that everybody else is good peoples despite all the things they do. It's all good peoples.
Yeah, but for the next sketch, we had the pathological liar. Did you get to see that one?
Yeah, I got to see it. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing where they're setting all of these in this bar now. This bar where all these celebrities come into. Like we saw the one with Walter Payton, you know, where he came in there, and because he's just sitting at the bar and he's just like, oh hey, Willie Nelson, good to see you again, you know, at this random bar, and Tommy the liar is just like, oh yeah, Willie, nice to see you again, because he just goes into it immediately. He can't let it sit. He's like, oh yeah, nice to see you. He's like, oh, do I know you? I meet a lot of people. Oh yeah, we met in I don't know if it was London or Paris, Texas. Oh yeah, that was it. That's a ticket. Yeah, Paris, Texas.
Yeah. Like basically for this sketch, like I didn't really, when I wrote down just a list of all the lies that he said. So I just like literally made a list. So like one of the lies he says he makes $2 million a year gilding sheep or something. And he's like, no.
He's like, no, I didn't say gilding. I said welding sheep. You know what gelding sheep is?
Welding. No,
gelding sheep is like a real thing, but it's like castrating sheep. It's like spaying, neutering dogs. Yeah, definitely something you don't make $2 million a year doing.
Yeah. But then he says that he knows Willie Nelson watching Church Chat, and he's like, "Oh, you watch Church Chat?" He's like, religiously.
I never miss it. Yeah. I do like when sketches in the SNL universe mention other sketches in the SNL universe. It's kind of a rare thing, but it does happen every now and then. Yeah, like this one where he's just like, yeah,
like
watch
breaking
Church
the fourth
Chat.
wall kind of thing.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
But so like he said, Willie Nelson says he's in town because of his movie Redheaded Stranger or something like that. So he's like yeah,
it's a real movie, by the way.
Yeah. But he's like I'm in town for my movie, The Hook Nose and Balding Stranger.
And
and I play a rabbi. Yeah, a rabbi from Ireland, and that's about to perform a bar mitzvah for the Mershowitzes or whatever. And he's like,
yeah.
Like then they move and I'm out of a job or something like that. Yeah.
And then Willie Nelson's just like, yeah, another one of those great Irish rabbi movies, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and then he says that he has an album coming out called Tommy Flanagan Sings Like a Banshee or something like that.
And then Willie Nelson says, "Oh, Willie Nelson sings everything again," or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're just doing the trading the jabs back and forth, and he's talking about how he plays sports or something, and Tommy says something about like, oh yeah, he plays golf. He goes, "Yo, you were playing, yeah, golf. That's it. I've been playing tennis. Yeah, I hit the ball so hard, I hit it right into Mount Rushmore. Yeah, the tennis ball became Abraham Lincoln's wart on his nose or something." And he's just like, yeah. He's just like, that sounds preposterous, and yet it happened.
Yeah, right. And then he's like, well, and I revolutionized the sport of baseball. He's like, when I go and I use a bat, he's like that. We've been using the bat for years. He's like now they've been using that.
They do now.
They do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he asked about the movie. He's like, isn't Morgan Fairchild in that?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, she is. And he's like, oh, nice. Well, I'm married to Morgan Fairchild. Yeah, that's a ticket. I'm married to her.
Funny how on the set she never mentioned you at all, right?
Yeah,
Mr. Flanagan.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it sure is funny like that, huh? Well, yeah, we're married. Yeah. Just like.
And then at the end, Phil Hartman comes in. He's like, why don't you stop with all the lies? You're making this up. And he's like, and Willie Nelson's like. He's like, no, I believe him. Like, stranger things have happened before. So I believe him. Sure, yeah, it could have happened. or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the end of it, though. Like, just kind of ends there. And then if Willie Nelson and Victoria Jackson come out next to perform a song that Victoria Jackson actually wrote. So as a song called The Boyfriend Song. It's kind of like one of those cheesy, kind of almost like akin to like the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song almost. Like
yeah, it was kind of a protege of something. Yeah, some of these guys would do like on a Weekend Update, it seems like, but they're just sitting on these stools on the stage. Yeah, I got to hear it because it wasn't a copyrighted song. It was like something that she did. So anytime I think they do things that are their own creations, which is why, Adam Sandler doing like his Hanukkah song, like that's his song. So it's not like a musical act doing that. But yeah, it's like, it's a song where she's just like, I didn't write down a whole lot of it, but it was just like, I've got one boyfriend who takes me lots of places, one boyfriend who just who does it. She has one line about like who does Quaaludes with, and she kind of stops the song. She's like, okay, I don't really do Quaaludes, like I don't do drugs. I just thought it fit well with the song or something like that. Like it fit right in that spot.
It just rhymed, yeah,
it just rhymed. And she's just going on. It's like one boyfriend, blah blah blah, and then like it switches over to Willie Nelson, and he does a version where he's talking about one girlfriend, and he's like kind of strumming the same rhythm. I've got one girlfriend I do this with, da 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 da. And yeah, it was amusing. It was just strange. Like it just threw, because it wasn't really like a sketch. It was just them, just kind of going back and forth. Like it was a very strange thing. It wasn't bad. It was funny.
I was just kind of like, it's all right.
Yeah, it was okay.
It was like, it's all right. But the next one. Next sketch was the truck stop sketch. So,
this was terrible.
It wasn't good at
all.
This
is one of the worst sketches I've ever seen. This is terrible.
Yeah.
This is like, it was long, and it was just like, was there any jokes in this, honestly? Or like, it was just Jan Hooks playing the same redneck truck stop lady she's been playing. The whole thing, like, it's her just doing the same character she's been doing the whole show, like through those things you've been talking about, like those white trash things. She's like doing the same thing, and it's just her just ranting and raving about like her hair and like ranting to Willie Nelson, who's just like sitting on a thing. Like the only decent thing is she's like going off ranting about something. I didn't even write it down, and like, but she stops for a second. It's funny. She stops for a second to like pick up some other guy's check, and she sees the tip, and she's like, "Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you, sugar. Have a good night." And she like jumps right into her whatever she's ranting about. But like, I don't know what she's talking about. This thing was terrible.
No, well,
I tuned out. Honestly,
for me on my notes, I just literally wrote a very boring sketch that is just Willie Nelson as a truck driver hitting on Jan Hooks as a waitress. He seduces her with a Patsy Cline song that he plays on the jukebox. And that's it. That's all I wrote.
That's it, dude. Like, I don't know what she's talking about. You could tell the audience was just like completely silent during this. Like there's no jokes. Like I don't know what's going on. Like it's really bad.
like crickets in the background, pretty much.
Yeah, cricket. Yeah, there's a lot of crickets in that one.
But then basically the only other thing is just Willie Nelson coming to perform again another song. He performed a song called Blue Eyes, which I didn't even listen to. I just
cool.
It, so. Yeah, but that was the end. They actually end with a musical performance. They performed yet again, so 6 times overall. So it's crazy.
Wow. Well, I guess does that include the Victoria Jackson thing too? Because that's almost like another performance. Okay, so 6 times, including the Victoria Jackson thing. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because he performs 3 songs live because of the opening monologue. Then he performs the song with the church lady. Then he does a song with Victoria Jackson. I think he does one other one too. He does, but yeah. So he has 6 songs overall. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yikes.
But anyways, yeah. So if you're a big fan of the music of Willie Nelson, this might be the episode for you. There might not be much else for you in this episode. So.
Yeah. Let's talk about an episode we both really like, though, with a host we really like. Let's talk about Conan O'Brien, Jordan. We're much more enthusiastic about He recently retired from talk shows. Conan O'Brien, although he's not retired from show business, he's just moving on to other ventures away from talk shows. But yeah, he's going to be doing like something with HBO Max, right? Like some kind of variety show kind of thing. Yeah, something.
We came out in like a bunch of like websites, and I think even like in the newspaper that he's going to be doing it. But like Conan himself hasn't really like said much about it though. Like he hasn't like come out himself that I've seen and like really said anything. All he said is he's going to continue doing his podcast, but I've seen it. The stuff about the HBO a variety show. In like 5 or 6 different places, so I mean, I think it's actually happening, but
it might just still be in development. Like he might have not filmed anything yet, so like maybe it's just still in the planning phase right now, and maybe like it'll start next year or something like that. Yeah, I've listened to some episodes of his podcast. Like he's a really good podcast, so it's like you can tell he likes doing interviews, long form interviews too, like hour long stuff instead of like 10 minutes. You know, like he really digs it. So, but yeah, this is. If you can believe it or not, Jordan, 20 years ago, this is 2001, 20 years ago with Conan. March 10th, 2001. Yeah, season 26. Conan and musical guest Don Henley. So, yeah.
And Conan looks like he hasn't even aged since then. Like, he almost looks like he's just
he barely. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, he's one of those guys like Paul Rudd. They even talk about that when Paul Rudd made an appearance. It's like, the both of them, somebody made a meme the other day that said it showed a picture. And it said Paul Rudd is the same age right now as Wilford Brimley is in the movie Cocoon. And Wilford Brimley looks like 80 years old, and Paul Rudd looks exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But like in this episode, you have Don Henley, so he's known for being part of the Eagles, but like the weird thing is like he doesn't sing any Eagles songs, doesn't sing like the Boys of Summer, doesn't sing anything that I've ever heard before. So I was not a fan. I'm just like, like he's not going to sing anything.
Well, I did listen to one of these songs, and to continue the streak, Jordan, the one song I listened to was a song I hear at work every day. Whoop-de-doo. Again, the streak continues. At least one of the songs on the things we do has to be on my stupid work music. Again. Terrible.
Right.
It never fails.
Of course, yeah. But, so yeah. And also want to mention Conan that Conan O'Brien was also a writer on the show for 3 years from 1988 to 1991. So he's like, what do you want to call it? I guess familiar territory from, I guess you could say. So
well, and he kind of mentions that in his monologue, which we'll get to in a minute, where he's kind of coming home almost, so to speak, because he used to be a writer, and we'll talk about it. But the monologue kind of has like a little montage of him showing up in the background of some sketches, just like drinking in the background, things like that. So yeah, and they would do that a lot with some of those writers, like Al Franken and Smigel, and even A. Whitney Brown to a degree was mostly a writer and shows up every now and then, that sort of thing. But yeah.
There's like extras and like some random sketches.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we start off with actually, so one other quick note I'm just gonna mentioned how you say that it's 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, I was a sophomore in high school at the time when this aired. So it's been 20 years since then. It makes me feel a little old, but
Yeah, right. I was in high school too. Yeah, it was like I think I was I might have been a sophomore as well, something like that. Either freshman or sophomore, but yeah, long time ago, ages ago.
Yep. Yeah. Way back when. But we start out with the cold open now. We have a message from the President of the United States of America with Will Ferrell as George W. Bush. So
yeah, well, definitely one of the more. If we ever did a tournament fights of the most famous SNL impressions, I'm sure Will Ferrell's George W. Bush is pretty much on the list. You know, he would be one of them because he got obviously he went off and did a whole Broadway show about it. You know, doing his own. Bush impression. So the premise of this one is he just comes on, and apparently it was around the time Cheney was having some heart problems, so he comes on to talk about how Cheney's having heart problems, and he went to the hospital, and he's doing okay now. And I just wanted to come on here and assure most of you that I got my results of my most recent physical, and want to assure everybody that I'm in good health. That good old George W. is going to be in charge for the whole time. He's not going anywhere. Things like that. He starts breaking down like his physical, where he's just like, I got a heart rate of 42 beats a minute as opposed to the regular man of 71. And Dick Cheney's of 112 with his pacemaker or whatever. He's just like, and my cholesterol is 115 as opposed to Dick Cheney 650.
650. Yeah.
And he's like, what's? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Was it the doctors? It was like the doctor tell me that I could have a size 30 waist by next year's State of the Union or something like that.
And he's like, what's the key to being physical? He's like, well, one of them is I get plenty of sleep, 14 hours a night, every night, no questions asked.
No ifs, ands, or buts. Yeah,
no ifs, ands, or buts. And he's like, and I like to pace myself and take plenty of frequent cat naps. I like the way he says cat naps.
The cat naps. And then he's like, when it comes to my official duties, I make sure I pace myself. But whatever the reason, the bottom line is Americans don't need to worry. I'm in excellent health. Other people may drop like flies in this administration, but I'm going to be around for the long haul. On the job, making the tough decision 24/7. It's 24 hours a week.
24 hours a week, 7 months a year. Yeah, the crowd seemed to enjoy that one. 24 hours a week, 7 months a year. And then he goes into the Life from New York from there. But yeah, it was amusing. It wasn't his greatest Bush thing, but it was still pretty good. It took a little while to wind up, but once it did, it was pretty funny.
Yeah. But so we jump into the opening monologue, and basically you have Conan coming on talking about how he was a writer on the show. Every once in a while, he would get a little sweet Conan time, is what he calls it.
Conan time, as I like to call it. Yeah, that sweet air time.
Sweet air time. So like it just shows him in like random like scenes, or like in the background as an extra, and then even one point like shows like a 2-person horse costume, with, like one person didn't on the back and has a little arrow going ding, like he's the butt of the ass with the horse or whatever. Yeah.
Well, one of them, he's actually putting on. It was a episode where Tom Hanks joined the Five Timers Club pretty early, and he's like putting on the Five Timers jacket for Tom Hanks, like he's putting it on and saying something for him. And because I looked it up, and that's what it was. It was when Tom Hanks joined the. They always do a bit when somebody joins like the Five Timers Lounge Club, and that's what one of them was. But yeah, he talks about how he has this show now, and he mentions how his studio is just 2 floors down from here. So does everybody want to come see it? So he's going to take everybody on a little tour. And I like these things, Jordan, where they kind of explore sort of the backstage area of SNL. It's always kind of fun and kind of roam around a little bit. And he legitimately does start going on a thing where he's going like downstairs, like two flights, like down the stairway down to his studio. And on the way, it's him like running into different people. Like he runs into Tracy Morgan, and Tracy's like, "Oh, I've never seen a TV studio before." Like, he's like, "What?"
Like, oh, no doubt.
My man, COB.
My man, COB.
And so go and he runs into some Japanese tourists. He's like, "Come on, Japanese tourists, you want to see my studio?" And they kind of join him, and they're going down the stairs. I'm a very famous celebrity in in my country, you know, only me and Lisa Gibbons.
Lisa Gibbons, yeah.
We're gonna get to
Lisa
host
Gibbons.
one show and still host another show. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing a whole thing. He runs
a very
into
rare honor.
yeah, he runs into a lady playing his mom, and he's just like, yeah, I came to see you at Saturday Night Live, and, you know, I got lost. And he's like, oh, it's okay. We're going to go see my studio. And he makes a side comment. He's like, we're very distant, very distant relatives.
Yeah. He's like, this is the first time I've ever seen your studio or something.
Yeah.
But he's like,
that's probably ad-lib.
Yeah, like when Tracy Morgan, he looks up to the camera. He's like, oh yeah, Brooklyn in the house.
Brooklyn in the house. What up?
But like then like passed by the paramedics too. He's like, come on, life-saving paramedics, you want to come see my studio? And they're like in the middle of like resuscitating at something. They're like, sure, yeah, why not? It's just come. Yeah. I'm like, hey there.
Heart attack victim.
Yeah, heart attack victim. You want to come with? And it's just silent. He's like, all right, you're lost. So
you're lost.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the button up of his, he finally gets to the studio, and Max Weinberg is, of course, naked having sex on his desk in the studio. He's just like, hey, what's going on, Conan? He's like, Max, he does this on the weekends. What's going on here?
Come on.
Yeah, it's all blur. It's all like blurred out, like one big giant blur over the top of Max Weinberg. So I was glad Max Weinberg got a little shout out because I always enjoyed their chemistry on the show when they would do like the little stare downs and all that kind of stuff. It's just always really good. Yeah, their chemistry was always excellent. But yeah, it's a good open. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Or like the little stare down and the other thing that goes ass or whatever, just like
ass.
Be on the screen or whatever. Yeah.
If you know anybody that was sexually harassed a coworker, and it would just cut to a quick shot of Max just with a frown face and then cut away and just keep building up to it. Like all that stuff was great on the show.
Yeah. But, like one of the funny things is like if you watch at the very, very end of the cold open, you actually see Conan start to climb on top of Max's back. He's like climbing up on him while he's on top of this woman or whatever. And I'm just like, all right. Yeah. but actually, so I looked it up. So I was just kind of curious if the woman was anyone famous. It's actually was Max Weinberg's wife. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense.
His real life wife. Yep. So that makes sense. They'd be naked on a desk together, you know. but yeah. So that's where it's the end of the cold open. The next one is the Sub Shack commercial, which is one of my favorites from the.
Yeah. No, I remember this word for word. Again, most of this episode I remembered pretty much word for word. It was just rewatches, and because I still remember the jingle where it's just like, "We need you back." To Sub Shack. We need you back. So yeah, the whole premise is it's Jimmy Fallon playing Jared Fogle, the subway guy, and obviously the less said about the real guy, the better. But he's just doing an impression back then, and and he's just like,
I used to wear
Fogul. Fogle. Yeah. And it's just like, these are my pants, you know. He's always showing his old pants, and he's like, I always wanted to wear pants like these. He's like, now I can because I went back to Sub Shack, and he's all super fat. He's got like a fat suit on and like fat prosthetic makeup, and it's him and Anna Gasteyer and Tracy Morgan, and they've all got like the fat prosthetic makeup on. It keeps showing like the before and after, but the after is them being like 300 pounds, you know, going to the Sub Shack, and it's just like. We need you back. I like them marching to the place. It just made me laugh. Like they're kind of doing this like motivational walk, like they're walking down the street to the Sub Shack. I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it does. And
it's like Jimmy Fallon's voice, where it's like my idea of a balanced diet to have all my favorite red meats in one sandwich. Thanks, Sub Shack. Or whatever.
Yeah, because I went back to Sub Shack.
Sub Shack. Like this week at Sub Shack, get a super meat and cheeser plus a side of bacon chili fries and a 32-ounce Mountain Dew and a pecan sugar loaf. Yeah,
$7.99.
Offered at $7.99. Yeah. But like one of my favorite lines, and like I've quoted this in like so many situations. So like every time like I'm in a real life situation, I have to say when I like that. Like if I have to say that. Like any reason in conversation, I always say the super bologna and cheese is was low in sodium, and I like that.
I like that.
I like
and
that.
there's a disclaimer at the bottom that
Yeah.
says the bologna and cheese has like 400 times the recommended amount of sodium in any sandwich.
Right.
It's
Low in
like,
sodium, and I like that. Yeah.
and Anna Gassar is like, no stupid Happy Meals, just lots and lots of food as she's stuffing her face with a giant sandwich. Just these sandwiches are like this big, dude. They're like these
so huge,
giant, like stacked, like sandwiches with just meat and like mayonnaise. It just looks disgusting.
Yeah, they like show like the mayonnaise going on, just like
drizzling the whole bottle on it.
Yeah, like the whole bottle. Like Subcheck, with the only word that follows healthy is appetite.
Appetite, yeah. And it's just all just stuff in their faces. Yeah, it's good stuff. I enjoyed this a lot.
Good stuff,
it still makes me laugh. Like really good.
Same, yeah. The super meat and cheeser. I was like how they say cheeser.
The super meat and cheeser.
Low in sodium. I like that.
I thought I remember the Mountain Dew being bigger than 32 ounce because that's like a standard size now. I thought it was like a 64 ounce or something. I thought I remembered it being like a 2 liter of Mountain Dew or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would make more sense.
Yeah. That's probably what it was. Yeah. But yeah. So the next sketch, you have the Cumberland Farms one. So you see that one?
The Sox teens. It's the famous Jimmy Fallon and Rachel Dratch doing their Boston boyfriend and girlfriend. You're retarded. You are. And them always making out and stuff like that. You are.
Pat Sullivan here. Yeah.
And the whole setup is they're outside of like a liquor store on a corner store trying to use fake IDs to like buy beer. So and it's Cumberland Falls, and it's a whole thing. But the twist on is that Conan O'Brien is part of the sketch too. He's playing like an older guy in the group, but Conan was actually from Boston originally. So like him doing the Boston accent is like kind of like he knows how to do it genuinely. Like he's pretty good at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like I did kind of notice though, there's like some words that like sound super like the Boston accent, and some words don't though. So like it's just kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's like really good, like but it fades in and out a little bit. But like like the whole premise is like we're making a video for our criminal justice class to show how frighteningly easy it is for minors to purchase alcohol in the greater Boston area. But as I speak, my girl Denise is currently within attempting to acquire a couple of tall boys. If she succeeds, mark my words, I will be forced to confiscate the evidence and turn it into the proper authorities. My mouth.
Yeah. When Conan comes in after they're making out for a second, he's just like, "Hey, back off! I'm going to get you for a public display of a boner."
Yeah. He's like, you're Evelyn Cheng to me. It's like, you are so queer. No, you are. You
are. Yeah. And they always make out. Yeah. He's like, this guy totally used to be our hero, second only to Nomar. And they all have like Nomar shirts on.
Nomar
baseball shirts.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing about that. They're talking about how like Conan says something about how he's currently like MIA from the Coast Guard right now. Like, I'm MIA from the Coast Guard, things like that. He's like 26 years old. I know they're going back and forth. There's a whole thing where Fallon is going to try his backup plan where he puts on like a fake mustache and he ends up buying the beer. He's like, a fake mustache and a British accent always does the trick,
Always does the trick.
Yeah.
Well, like when it's like, good one, bro. Like Eric is top-notch people. One time he stole a Zamboni and drove it to the prom or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then inexplicably through the middle of the sketch, we get a Ben Affleck cameo showing up doing his Boston accent. He just rides in on like a bicycle with Horatio's long hair, like glasses character. And just he comes and it seemed like Jordan, like it took a second for the crowd to realize who it was because he comes in going hey, and the crowd's like kind of silent for a second, and then they're like, oh, hey, it's Ben Affleck, like it takes him a minute to kind of like realize it, and he comes in like all bombastic, like doing It was kind of cool to see him. I wasn't expecting that.
There's a little moment also too, like before it comes in where just Conan and Rachel Dratch like having a little moment where like he's like
because they used to date,
trying to like hit on her or something like that. Yeah. They talking about her boobs or something like that. He like says something
Yeah, and
about
she's
that.
like, "Don't let him know you were my first, because you were my third, because he thinks you were like my second or something. I don't know, something the whole thing about how like he thinks you were my third or something instead of like
Yeah,
my first or whatever, something like that.
oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, it was the
yeah,
whole thing where they
yeah,
used
yeah,
to they used to date.
yeah. And it's like, and then she's like, I mean, Solon may lack book smarts, street smarts, and basic emotional intelligence, but you know what? So don't I, or something like
So
that.
don't I?
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, but then you have Ben Affleck coming in and he's like, "What's up, suckers? Who wants to party with Big Danny Bartoli or whatever?"
Danny Bartoli. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But he's like, "Yo, guys, I got a ball of pink schnapps. I got some rubber cement in here, and a whole gallon of paint thinner. He's like, are we partying tonight or what?"
Yeah, and they all just like hop on the bike. It's like four people on this bike trying to ride away. Horatio's trying to
Yeah,
pedal the bike.
yeah, yeah.
But honestly, like those Boston characters are not my favorite characters of this era. Like they're
Really?
okay. It gets a little annoying after a while, to be honest. But
I
they were
like
okay.
him.
Conan at least brought it up a little bit. Like he was fun. He was a fun little addition. You know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. but but yeah. So moving from that one, move over to Molecular. So that's a pretty fun one.
Moleculo, the molecular man.
Yeah, the Molecular Man.
Yeah.
Like basically though, it starts off uh, at a bank which says Acme Federal Savings Bank, and then you see him just like stopping some bank robbers or
Mhm.
like yeah, we give up. Who are you anyways? It's like I am Molecular, the Molecular Man.
The
It zooms in on
molecular
his
man.
face. But the
And
whole
there's like a
premise of
little
it,
mini, yeah, there's like a little mini theme song. It's like molecular,
oh yeah,
molecular,
yeah, yeah,
molecular, da, 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 da. Like it's this
yeah,
little superhero thing. The molecular man. And he kind of does this smirk every time he says it, like,
yeah, yeah. It was like the whole premise is that um, anyone or anytime anyone says molecular, then just cuts them going the Molecular Man just over and over
Mhm.
and over again.
Yeah, he like
Yeah,
puts his hands on his hips, like doing the superhero pose, like the Superman pose.
yeah,
The molecular man. And yeah, there's a big close up on his face.
yeah. but but yeah. So basically though, when he's at the bank, so they have the police officer to come in and like, oh yeah, well that's the last of them. I can't believe notorious gangster Jackhammer Joe has been defeated. And he's like, sure, it is great to have a superhero around. Thanks a lot. We owe you one, Molecular. The Molecular
The
Man. It just
molecular
keeps going and going.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like basically, like it just keeps going and going like that. And then we cut to we're looking at a newspaper, uh, uh, pretty similar to a Clark Kent type character.
The
So
the daily newspaper is what it's called, which I got a chuckle out
yeah,
of that. It's just called
the
the
daily
daily
newspaper.
newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
sort of like a Jimmy Olsen type thing that Fallon's playing, and Rachel Dratch is sort of playing like a Lois Lane. I mean, it's just a takeoff of like Daryl Hammond playing like Mr. White. Like it's just them being like, "This is Brett Barker wrote a great story about molecular da 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 da," and the whole thing. And he kind of,
yeah.
yeah, he struts in. He's just got like,
You
he's
just
got
bang
you can
up
tell
top.
he's got some like padding in his suit because he's kind of like buffed up a little bit,
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
muscle padding, and he just kind of
Yeah.
struts in. And she's like, "Hey, gang, what's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, what a great story you wrote about this the molecular man." And they're just like, "All right,
All
yeah,
right.
that guy, that guy."
Okay. And they're like, wait a second. You guys don't think, and they're like, nah. They're like yeah, right.
Brett
Uh,
Barker, ha,
Barker,
no way. Ha, ha, ha.
Brett Barker, Molecular, no way. And then he like comes in. He's like, hey, gang, what's the good word or whatever. He's like trying to really play up the old timey stuff. He's like, we're just talking about this great story that you wrote. He's like, oh, thanks, Chief. I was just in the right place at the right time. And so like they like talk about like how he always gets like the good like photos and stories of Moleculo, and then they keep talking about him after he leaves the room, and then when they say his name, he like bursts through the wall. He's like the Molecular Man. They're like, all right, Like you're
You're
molecular, right?
molecular.
Yeah, right.
It's like, how'd you figure it out? He goes, I don't know. Could it be molecular? The molecular. Oh yeah, that's right. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I just get excited, just get a little worked up, It's just great. And
Yeah,
she's like, what are you gonna do? And he's like, well, I gotta leave. I gotta go away. And it cuts to Mexico, and he's at a Spanish newspaper, and it's like the most stereotypical thing. It's like Horatio Sands and like a poncho and a sombrero, and even Brett Barker's wearing a sombrero just with his other suit he was already wearing, and he's just like, he says some Spanish stuff, which if you want to know, I can tell you exactly what he said, but like it's pretty basic Spanish. It's like Spanish 101, but the whole thing is he's like, thank you. Well, he's saying it all in Spanish, but he basically goes, thank you. I love this story you did about molecule. And he goes, El hombre de los moleculos.
El hombre de los moleculos. Yeah, like we don't know the Spanish just because it sounds funny in Spanish. But it's like, it was like, Señor Barker, muchas gracias. Su historia es muy excelente. It was like,
una historia de moleculo.
Yeah, it was like, me me gusta,
Me gusta mi trabajo mucho. Means I love my job very much. I love my job very much. Yeah.
It's like trabajo soy yo le molecular, like you're molecular or something like that. Yeah. Right.
And he goes, tú eres molecular. He's like, which means you're molecular. And he goes, caramba.
Yeah. Sí, caramba. Yeah.
His cover's blown. But this sketch is like just stupid enough that it's funny. Like it's mainly because Conan like completely commits 1,000% to the gimmick. Like if he wasn't committed 100%, it wouldn't work. But he just like puts everything he has every time he does the molecular man thing, like which is what makes it funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so the next one we cut to the Napster hearings, the one with Right Said Fred, the one you didn't get to see.
Well, you sent me. Well, I mean, you sent me like a link to the version of it, but even without that, I remember this one like from memory, like 100%, like from when they used to show this on Comedy Central. Like I remember this thing almost word for word. Yeah, because it's a DC hearing about Napster, and so it's basically a parade of musical cameos. So yeah, you've got. The first one is Conan playing Right Said Fred, the guy who used to do I'm Too Sexy. And he's like got the bald cap on, and he's like kind of schlubby. He's got like a muffin top, like Conan's kind of sticking out his gut a little bit, wearing like really tight pants. And he's just like, I'll tell this committee that I am in fact still too sexy for my shirt. And the committee's just like, it is the decision of this committee that you are not.
Yeah. But yeah, when he's like there was a time when I was too sexy for my shirt. Now I find myself forced to be sexy for copyright infringement. My livelihood. It's like my livelihood depends on my ability to sell copies of my many hit songs, like I'm Too Sexy, and other songs that I may one day, right?
One day, right? Well, and even at one point he plays the "I'm Too Sexy" song, and he's kind of doing this like pelvic thrusting, like going around, but he's got like the muffin top hanging out, and he's just like, yeah, eventually became too sexy for my gym membership card.
Yeah. And they're like, excuse me for a minute, Mr. Said Fred. Now we have here up to date record, and since the inception of Napster, your work has been downloaded. Let me check here. Okay, never. It's never been. Yeah. But like I just want to give a little shout out just because he's in it, but he doesn't really do much. But like even before Right Said Fred comes in, you have David Lee Roth played by Chris Kattan, but he's just like saying a bunch of like gibberish as they like pull him off. He's like
yeah.
Like just like a 2-second thing that they kind of pull him out of there. Yeah. But
and was it Tracy Morgan's next as the cameo guy with the flat top, or was that later?
Or
was it Jimmy Fallon doing the Nigel Tennant guy or whatever, Neil Tennant?
What was the Tracy Morgan one? Yeah, where it's like word
Yeah, he's the guy from Cameo. The joke is he just keeps saying "word up," and he's just like, "How do you fit into this hearing?" He's just like, "Word up! I'm the guy from Cameo. Word up!"
Like, I'm sorry, I don't remember you. What was your hit song?
Word up.
Yeah.
And there's a whole build up. There's a joke where he's just like, I have a statement to read, and he's like pulling out this piece of paper, and he's like putting on glasses, and he like pours a glass of water, and he's like unfolding the piece of paper, and of course he looks at it, and there's a pause, and he goes, "Word up!"
Yeah, word up, yeah.
And they're like, "All right, get out of here, yeah, whatever, get out of here." And
yeah. But then they have like that guy come out where he's like, they're like, "Oh, Mickey, you're so fine." Come out, and then like have the girl come out like dressed as a young cheerleader or something like that. I think it's supposed to be like Tony Basil. I don't really know who that is, but it's like
it was just a chick that was in that music video. The "Oh Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey Mickey, like it was that one song from like 2000, and it was just like the girl who was like the cheerleader in that video, and that's like all she ever did. So if you look her up, that's like literally all she ever did, and it's just Rachel Dratch playing her. But the whole joke is that Trent Lott, Daryl Hammond is like he's like a horny old man, so he thinks she's like super sexy, even though she's like real young. He's just like, "Hey Mickey, oh I like it, hey Mickey." He's just like being like a horny old man.
Like, "Oh, sorry about that. Strong Thurman in it. I just have a thing for cheerleaders or something." Yeah. But then the next one we have Neil Tennant come out, so it's just Jimmy Fallon playing Neil the Tennant, where he's like one of the former Pet Shop Boys or something. And he's like, "I'm Neil Tennant. I used to be part of the Pet Shop Boys, right? And what do you do now? These days I work in an actual pet shop. But I'm planning a big comeback in West End town in a dead end world. The Eastern boys and the West End girls, please stop singing." And he's like, "Wait, what? Have I like what I do to deserve this?" I guess that's like one of the other songs.
What have I done to deserve this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of his other songs. Yeah. What have I? He did the voice pretty well. I'll give him that.
Yeah. What have I done to deserve it? But then they have Horatio Sands come out as Rico Suave. Yeah.
Rico Suave. Yeah, it's well, actually, it's Gerardo, but that was like his big song was the Rico Suave song, and then Gerardo, and of course it's Rico, so he's got his gut hanging out, and they're just like, "Good God, man, what happened to you?" He's just like, "Chocolate donuts."
Yeah.
It's short and sweet, but I appreciate it that they kind of got to the point with it.
Yeah, right. But then that Will Ferrell come out as Corey Hart, and they're like, "Good Lord, what happened?"
Wheelchair.
He's like, "I wore my sunglasses at night, and I ended up in a pretty serious car accident."
Yeah. Like, all right, is there anybody else that could offer anything to this hearing? And like, you see Right Said Fred Conan come back, and he's in a beekeeper outfit, and he's just like, I'm the beekeeper from the Village People," and they're just right. "Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, hey. Is that you, Right Said Fred? There wasn't a beekeeper in the Village People." She's like, please, I'm so hungry. I'm not too sexy to eat day-old bagels. Just give me something.
Yeah, just give me something.
And she's like crying. Somebody get that man a muffin.
This poor. He's like, "Someone get this poor wretched muffin." Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good little parade of cameos. It was pretty funny. Like, I think everybody was into it. Like, I liked Horatio as Fat Rico Suave. That was pretty damn funny.
Yeah. But the next thing we have is Weekend Update with Jimmy Fallon and Tina Fey, which is actually the better, like way better Weekend Update of the two. So
well, and it's like 4 minutes of just them doing the headline jokes, and there's no like correspondent things or like nobody coming out to do stuff in between. Like, it's literally just like a 4-minute Weekend Update, and they just do the jokes and they leave. Like, it was kind of interesting. Like, usually they have at least one person do like a commentary or something, but they didn't. It was just like them doing the headlines back and forth. It was kind of odd, but I didn't hate it. It was it was kind of refreshing.
Well, the key to it too, just their delivery, because like some of the like jokes, like they're really not not like super funny, but the way that they deliver it makes it funny. So
Mhm.
so they just
Yeah.
add a lot of energy to it and stuff. So like kind of like the first one where like Tina Fey's like has a joke about like Michael Jackson. She's like Michael Jackson arrived in London this week on crutches after breaking his foot in a common household accident in his Neverland ranch. What could have happened to anyone? Jackson told her a reporter. See, my llama and I were chasing Liz Taylor around the Elephant Man's bones, and I tripped on my cape on her. It's like not that
Yeah.
like funny, but the way that they deliver it, like they
Mhm.
have a lot more energy to it. So
Yeah.
so I
I
like
only
that.
wrote down a couple of them. There was one that was like, Rod Milner wants to be the first guy to do a space jump like 24 miles up in the air, in the stratosphere. And then he cuts and he's just like, in future news, Rod Milner is dead. And like, I
Yeah,
thought that was pretty
right.
funny. Well, and actually, it wasn't the same guy, but if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a guy who actually did one of those space jumps things. Do you remember that? Where he was like up and
Uh-huh.
he did that, but it wasn't the
Remember
same
that?
guy. I had to look it up and see if it was the same guy, but it wasn't. It was some other guy who ended
Okay.
up doing it. Yeah, I wanted to see because I remember them actually doing the space jump like 10 years later, and he actually did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did a joke about the movie Shock a Lot, where he's just like, Shock a Lot was
Oh
so
yeah.
shock along and shock a boring that I wanted my
Boring.
Shaka money back.
The money back. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And then Tina Fey had one that was like, according to a report released Tuesday, female inmates in the United States have been victims of sexual misconduct by corrections employees in every state except Minnesota. So, ladies, if you want to rob a bank, but you don't want to get your cooter poked, head to the beautiful
Come to
Minnesota,
Minnesota. Woo!
land of 10,000 lakes.
Yeah. There was a very
Cooter
subtle
poke.
joke that I may have only appreciated because I enjoy little financial humor, but it was like Alan Greenspan this week celebrates his 75th birthday, but he's going to reduce it down to 74 and a quarter. I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's a Federal Reserve. It's a Federal Reserve joke. I kind of appreciated that. It was stupid, but I kind of appreciated it. Yeah, there was
Like
just a couple of jokes, but it was
Yeah.
fast, but it was all right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Was there
They
any
had one.
others? Those are the ones I wrote down.
They had one about the talking cigarette box that like delivers a warning about the hazards of smoking. So like he actually has the like talking cigarette box, and it's like you better not smoke these.
Mhm.
You'll get cancer if you smoke these delicious cigarettes or whatever.
Delicious cigarettes, yeah.
But they like emphasize that, so like really doesn't sound like a warning.
Yeah, right.
But,
I think it was Chris Parnell doing the voice too. Don't smoke these delicious cigarettes.
Yeah, delicious cigarettes. But yeah, that's pretty much it though. Like it wasn't too long.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, it was like 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. But
Yeah, it was quick to the point. Hey, at least there wasn't an A. Whitney Brown big picture in this, so I appreciate
yeah,
that.
right, exactly, right. But the next one that I had was a Taintless Ted one.
Yeah, this was odd, but it was absurdly funny. Like it was very absurdist sketch, but it was kind of funny. Yeah.
I'm surprised at how much I actually laugh, just because it's like so off the wall. The things that they're saying, I'm just kind of like what the heck? Like basically like it like opens with Horatio Sands and Rachel Dratch, and like when their husband and wife, and they're sitting on the couch, and Horatio Sands wants to go to McDonald's, but he doesn't want to go to the McDonald's across the street. He wants to go to the good McDonald's all the way over in Bainesville. So he decides that he really wants to go over there, but then Rachel Dratch was like, well, you know that the episode of Inside the Actors Studio with Bruce Jenner's coming up next. You've been hyped about that all week long. He's like, oh dang. He's like, well, if I drive 135 miles an hour, I can make it back in time for the episode. I can make it there in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
right.
But like cuts to it though, that it's like him like racing there on the freeway, and you see the car just like flying past all the traffic, and then eventually like ends up in some horrible accident where like the car like ends up going into like oncoming traffic or whatever. Yeah. But
Anna Gosselaar, the nurse, plays a good joke when he starts to
Yeah.
wake up in the hospital, saying you're like in a hillbilly cabin and they're all gonna like rape you or something like that.
yeah.
I'm like, there's a bunch of hillbillies here and they're gonna molest you, and then kill you. And he's just like, what? And he's like, no, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding. You're in a hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But then the doctor comes in and it's Conan, and he's like, hello there, Mr. Buranois.
Brown. He's like Brown.
His last
My
name's
name's
Brown.
Brown.
We can't pronounce it. He's like, yes, Browan. Sorry, that's a very odd
Browan.
name.
Browan.
Give us
Browan.
a few minutes here. Yeah. And he's like, well, you were in a grisly car wreck, Mr. Brown. But somehow after 10 hours of surgery, you're alive. He's like, oh, thank you, doctor. But unfortunately, there's some bad news. I want you to brace yourself, Mr. Barone. He keeps saying it in like different ways. But it's like, in order to save your life, I was forced to remove your taint. Like, for some reason when he said that, like, because so unexpected, kind of out of left field, I started laughing so hard. I'm like, taint? What the frick? And so
it's just
he was
taint,
like,
man.
what? Yeah, but he's like, you suffered a massive trauma to your taint.
For anybody who doesn't know, the taint is the spot on a guy between your balls and your butthole. That's what a taint is.
Yeah.
That little gap there. So yeah, the whole thing is, we had to remove your taint, and like Horatio had a funny line where he's just like,
Yeah.
You mean you had to remove my fleshy fun bridge? And that really made me laugh. And Conan's just like, I haven't heard that scientific name in 2 years or something like that. That's what we used to call it. It's so absurd.
Yeah. When he's like trying to explain it too. It's like, a taint, sir, is the area between your rectum and your genital. It ain't your but it ain't your so it's a taint.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, Doc, what do you mean you had to remove it? Where'd you get your diploma from? A box of Hill Street Blues cereal or something? Yeah. He's like, they still make that?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and then where he's like, look here, Mr. Baranois. He's like, brown. He's like, no, sir. The taint is flesh colored, okay? My name is Mr. Brown. Hello. He's like, I assure you, the field of taint prosthetics is advancing at a rapid pace. We can build you an artificial taint out of wood, and yes, it will be bionic.
Yeah, it's a wood taint.
Yeah, a wooden bionic taint or something.
Yeah. And he's just like, "What? I'm never going to be able to get a job, or I'm never." He's like, "Don't be silly, sir. There's plenty of jobs where you can work without a taint." He's like, "What? Name one." He's like, "Okay, well, I can't really name one right now, but I'm sure there's plenty of them out there."
Yeah, and then they're like, his wife comes in. He's like, "Let her in so she can see her taintless husband. He can't work. He's lost his taint." And he's like,
"Yeah."
He's like, "Get a hold of yourself, man. There's plenty of jobs you can do without a taint." And that's when he's like, "Well, I can't think of one." And then you have the announcer come on and say that, like he doesn't have a taint or something like that, like at the end.
Yeah, he's just like, and nobody even knew I didn't have a taint. And you hear Tracy Morgan going like, "Yeah, we knew you didn't have a taint." And he's just like,
"We knew, we knew."
How'd you know? It's just like, we knew.
Oh yeah, and then there's the part also where Will Ferrell come in and he's like sexing up his wife or something like that. Like, yeah,
she's just like I remarried him and he's got a huge taint, and he's just like, yeah, I married your wife and I'm gonna give it to her Freddie Gandon style or something like that. Like,
yeah. Like, and I can give you a discount if you're ever on the market for a plastic diver for your fish tank or something weird like that.
Yeah, and Conan's like, he pulls him aside. He's just like, "Hey man, how much for that plastic diver in the fish tank?" He's like, 400 clams. He's like, "Damn, that's a sweet deal," or something that.
It's a sweet deal, yeah.
So yeah, it was a total absurdist, like another weird sketch, but like Conan plays it so straight and so kind of over the top that he kind of makes it work, Like it's just really out there, but he kind of makes it work,
Yeah, but so the next sketch we we had was the TV Funhouse spot the black guy at the Knicks game, I guess. So
Yeah, this was strange, but it was okay.
yeah, so this what makes me laugh pretty good, but like all it is just like the camera just like zooming around with like some elevator music playing, and they're like trying to like spot all the different black guys, and every time that they see one, they have a little arrow that's like ding ding ding
Ding ding ding. But the whole thing is that it's like 90% white people, and just like for every section, there's like 2 black people around Madison Square Garden. Yeah.
And also, almost all the black people or all the employees are like.
Oh yeah, like security people selling hot dogs to security people, and then it pans out to the court, and it's like all the players on the court are all black, so it circles all them. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, and then it even circles Spike Lee in the front row because he's always courtside at the Knicks games.
Yeah. Like basically, that's all it is, though, because it's just
that's all it is. Yeah,
it's like trying to spot the black guy at the Knicks game. So, yeah, but the next sketch we have the VH1 Divathon with Linda Lopez.
This was okay. I thought this one on way too long. I didn't really like this one. I thought it was one of the worst ones of the night, to be honest, because like Conan doesn't really do much in this one. I thought it was weird, but I mean, it has a few moments. But yeah, it's like, isn't she like? It's like one of those VH1 feature things, and they're talking about like Deandra Wells, and it's like Anna Gasteyer saying she's like number 499 out of 500 or something like that.
Yeah, like 498. He's like, we're into our 6th hour here, and he's like,
yeah,
and then he's like, it was like we move on now to the diva that calls herself Lady Music, Miss Deandra Wells, and then like she's just singing like the most annoying song. 1 + 1 makes 2, or whatever. Just
1 + 1 makes 2. Me and you will never do. And the whole thing is just like every time she insults somebody on her band or whatever, like she'll go back to singing the song every now and then, just be like 1 + 1 is 2. It's like the only thing she knows how to sing from like her own song, or like the only hit she ever had.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Will Ferrell's on the piano, and then like Horatio Sands on the bass, and eventually like Conan's playing her kid like on the guitar, and like she just keeps going around like introducing the band, but she's like insulting them. So she's like, "Oh, this is so and so Davis. I call him Boo Boo because he makes so many mistakes." When we play.
Yeah, like for whatever reason, I just like Will Ferrell playing kind of like the lounge kind of jazz singer. Where it's like, hey, the sun may be setting here on Pier 16, but this star is always rising. Ladies and fellas, Miss Deandra Wells.
Deandra Wells.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he gets pissed off later at her. Like the whole band gets pissed off later, and when he finally does some outbursts, he's pretty funny. But yeah, she's just going around like, I forget what I didn't really write down what she says to Horatio. It was like something, but when she eventually gets around to Conan, he's playing the guitar, and it's like, oh, this is my son Josh. You might recognize him from the made for TV movie they did about him called Falling Down Drunk, like the Josh Wells story.
Wells story, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they're going back and forth. It's like he can't even read music, and Will Ferrell's just like, he can't read music, Deandra.
Yeah. Yeah, like I didn't really write a lot.
I didn't write a lot either, but it was okay.
Down for it. Like the whole point of it, though, it's like when they start yelling at her, like eventually, like everyone's yelling at her, and then like Will Ferrell, like does something where he almost kind of shoves her, but he doesn't really shove her. Like she almost kind of trips her or something. So she like stumbles and almost falls over. She gets up and she's like, 1 + 1 makes 2. He just goes right back.
Yeah, he's just like go to hell, Deandra. It's like go to hell, Deandra. You go to hell. And then there's like a silence, a pause, and then she's just like, 1 + 1 is 2. It's just I just wrote like it was an okay premise, but it's a little too long. Like I get like the joke kind of wore thin after a while, but like it wasn't horrible, but it was kind of average for this episode. Like it stuck out as far as being like pretty basic and poor for this episode, to be honest. Probably one of the worst ones, but it wasn't horrible. It was okay.
Well, speaking of the worst ones, I think maybe the next one.
Oh yeah.
Which is the Democratic National Committee or something weird. with like Chris Kattan. Like I didn't really even get. So like I just wrote down a little paragraph explaining what it was, but I didn't really write down any lines. It's pretty short. It's only like a minute long.
It's just him playing Mark Rich, who was just like a Clinton guy who like he eventually fled the country to evade like tax evasion. So it's just him talking about like taxes, about how like, oh, there's a new Bush tax plan to lower taxes for the rich or whatever. He's like, why wouldn't I want to, lower taxes or whatever? Because I don't pay any income taxes at all. I never have and I never will. Something like that. But it's just a weird thing.
It's like I haven't paid my income tax in many, many years. And I have no intention of ever doing so.
Yeah, right. No, that's like all it was. Is him just talking about like tax evasion, but like it was pretty short. It was only like 2 or 3 minutes, but yeah, it was not great.
But like for me, that's probably the worst of it. But that's the worst of it. It's a pretty strong episode to just have the 1 little minute thing be the worst of it.
Yeah, right.
But then you have Don Henley coming in to perform "Heart of the Matter." I don't know that song, so it's like whatever. I just skipped it.
That was the one that was on my work. That's on my work music, so I turned it off immediately.
Okay.
And I looked it up.
Yeah, but the next one, we have Sports Century with James the Gentleman Master Corcoran.
Dude, let me tell you about how me and my buddy Matt from Florida have quoted this sketch for like 10 years. Dude, we have quoted this sketch so many times. Like, I love this sketch. Like, we have gone back. So even just randomly, like, I could literally, I would show you, I could text him right now or message him and just text him the line, "I'll baste your turkey," and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And he'll say, "I'll butter his bean and serve it to him." Like, we'll start trading the insults from the thing, and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We talk about this sketch all the time. Dude, so yeah, the premise of it is it's like one of those like sports bio things, and it's like Chris Parnell talking about how like we all know Joe Frazier and Rocky Marciano, whatever. He's like, but there was a little known boxer in 1912, and James the Gentleman Masher Corcoran, and it's Conan O'Brien with like the goofy like old timey handlebar mustache, and it basically it's a takeoff of like if you've ever seen that classic picture of like the boxer guy kind of like throwing his hands up, like this,
something like this,
yeah. It's kind of a takeoff of that because he's playing like one of those old timey boxers who just like throws his hands like that, and it's and it's like he's just as old time. And like I'm convinced, Jordan, and you know this because you're a Conan fan. If Conan O'Brien could get away with talking this like old timey talk all the time, I'm pretty convinced he would, because he does this. He loves this stuff. Like I know he does.
Yeah. Well, like Conan's famously known, like when did this remote sketch with
baseball,
where they played baseball in like the old timey way. It's his favorite remote. What's his favorite remote sketch that they ever did in like the history of a show? Like it's so much fun, just like coming with all the old timey insults, and then like talking to all the like players' wives that are like sitting on the sidelines, that kind of thing. So that one's pretty good though. Yeah.
He looks pretty similar because he's got the same type of mustache in that sketch, like the long, like old timey mustache. And he was talking the same. I'm convinced if he probably had in his contract when he hosts SNL, he's like, I have one sketch where I do like old timey talk. He's like, I have to, because there's a whole thing where like they get to him finally, like kind of like showing off in the ring, and then he goes and sits down. He's like talking to some reporters, like sitting next to ringside. And he's just like, the game of boxing requires a steady diet and training regimen. That's why I drink 38 quarts of beer a day. I eat 8 pounds of salted pork, and I rigorously avoid all sunlight and ventilation. And then once a month, I'm sure to move my bowels. Once a month. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, because like look at the beginning, they like do a little profile on him, and they're like telling about his life story. Like after spending his youth trapped in a vat in a meat packing
trapped in a vat, and they got a picture of a baby with like an old timey mustache on him too, like as a baby. Yeah,
they're like the Corcoran began boxing it, and instantly that developed an original pugilistic style that completely baffled his opponents or something. His pugilistic style. What is that?
Yeah, his first big win came against Kid Regan, who was in fact a 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
It shows him like holding the head out on a little kid and like pushing him stuff. And he's just like, and he so after he gets that win, he's like talking to the reporters again. He's like, to the next man I will face, I say this, I'll put corn in his muffin. I'll crimson him's face. He's like, I'll butter his bean and serve it to him cold. I will, and I'll deliver a blow that will make the blood flow from his face most copiously.
Yeah. Where he's like, I'll deliver a blow to the mouth area or whatever. Yeah.
Mouth area.
Yeah.
And because they're talking about how he may have been the first like trash talker like in the sports industry or whatever. He's like delivering all these ridiculous things, but the whole thing is that he has a fight with Chris Kattan, and they just like the whole joke is that they're just doing this like dance, like where they're just throwing their fists around and they're just like doing this dance, and he's like kicking his legs up and just round after round after round. It's like 65 rounds, and then like Chris Kattan just stops to cough for a second, and literally he just goes like ding, and he just like delivers this like weak little punch, and then he goes down and he just starts like posing and dancing again, because he wins the fight. But then the whole thing is
later he has to go against African American fighters.
Oh boy.
And it doesn't end well for him.
Yeah, and he's just like, but everybody knows that the muscular African is no match for the lanky, smooth-talking Irishman, and history will prove me correct.
Correct. Yeah. He's like, I find this son of an Africa quite affable. I do.
He's just delivering all these old-timey lines. Like you can tell Conan's loving every second of this.
Thrashing.
We must get a proper thrashing. Come quickly, Pinky. Come quickly, Pinky. It's time for your thrashing. I'll baste your turkey.
When he's like, I plan to crimson his face with a series of dapper lefts. Then bring issue to arrest with a powerful blow upon his dark and mysterious brow. And the whole thing is like, he goes to fight the black guy, and like the bell rings, and he immediately just starts like pounding him in the chest, like the black guy's just beating his ass, and then he like hits him in the corner. He's just like he's punching him over and over and over again and over, and in the middle of it, he's just going, I do not like this. This is a clear violation of Queensberry rules. Queensberry rules. Yeah.
It's just great.
He's like, come quickly, Pickney. It's time for your
thrashing.
I'll pepper your porridge.
And there's a headline that says like, the headline was funny because the headline on the newspaper they flashed says colored man defeats Corcoran, but then on the underneath it actually said World War I begins. That was the subheadline. And but it's talking about how once he started fighting black guys, he lost 247 fights in a row, and he would start bleeding before the thing even starts. So it shows Conan. He's just like, I'll baste your turkey, but there's like this hose thing like drenching blood all over his face. And it's just like this cartoony picture of like his jaw getting all busted up with like black eyes and Parnell's just like, hey, he finally retired like a few years later. And he's like, but we'll always remember, the influence he had on the sport or something. But like you could tell Conan just had like a blast with this sketch. Like I can tell this is like he's like his. You could tell this was like the one he was probably looking forward to like most the whole night because he loves doing that shit, like the old timey stuff. Oh yeah, he loves this stuff.
Yep. But
I highly recommend it. I think it's my favorite of the night. Like like I said, I've been quoting this sketch back and forth to my buddy for like years and years and years. So I love this sketch.
But that was the final sketch of the night. But but there's a little side note though. They had a cut for a time sketch you can actually find online that actually replaces. So like when they re-aired it on TV, they had a DeMarco brothers sketch in place of one of Don Henley's songs. And so the DeMarco brothers were Chris Kattan and Chris Parnell going in like singing and like trying to audition for things and like singing all these different songs, So they go to audition for Don Henley, and Don Henley's actually in the skit. So yeah.
Interesting.
But it was cut for time, so I didn't see it.
No.
Okay. But it's one probably after we're done filming tonight. I might go try to check it out somewhere, But
yeah.
But
a really good episode. Yeah, Conan was great, and this is definitely like a highlight of one of the early 2000s. Yeah, Conan was awesome. You can tell he just like he definitely contributed to a lot of them, especially like the boxing one, and like the molecular thing is so stupid, but it's hilarious. Like it's like funny stupid, and there's a lot of good stuff on this episode. I highly recommend this one. Way better than the Willie Nelson episode. way better.
Yeah. But I will say for our next episode though, like we've been kind of talking to the next episodes of Valerie Bertinelli with musical guest of Robert Clay Band, which I don't know like who that even is. So it's like for me, like we may end up kind of skipping ahead kind of later in the season. We're gonna give it probably like a little watch. Like, we'll kind of skim through it, see if it's really worth it our time, because I don't know about you, Austin, but I'm getting a little tired of like the same old Dennis Miller weekend update, all that stuff. You know?
Kind of talking about this a little bit. I may go through and find at least watch some of the Peacock versions of those, and if any of them are like really good with a lot of good sketches, maybe I'll recommend and we'll do one of them. So we may not know exactly which one we're doing for a couple of weeks, but we'll announce it. But like I may skip through. Like I know I watched a little bit of the Dennis Hopper one when we first started the show, and that one was pretty good. So we might do that one.
Okay.
There's a couple of ones like I want to see the Bill Murray and the Gary Shanley episodes, see if those are any good, because they might be them. But like if they are, we'll do it, and if they're not, like I think we'll just skip it, honestly, because some of these are real drags. But I do have our next themed wild card episode if you want to find out what it is to kind of tie into something. So I'm having to think ahead a little bit. As you can tell, Jordan, about a month or so, till we actually get to it. So I'm trying to tie it in with something like a month from now instead of something right now, because it'll be outdated.
It usually takes a little bit for us to get to it.
Yeah, it takes a little bit, because we kind of did the Conan one in honor of him, retiring from the talk show, which was a couple weeks ago. But for this one, I figured we would do, since football season is starting soon, we'd revisit a football episode with a host. So we're going to do a more famous one, and actually a good one, because I know there's a lot of sports ones that are not so good. There was a football one I considered, but then when I looked it up, it's notoriously one of the worst episodes of all time. And
wonder if it's the one that I'm thinking of. We'll see.
Well, it probably is the most famous one, and that's what the one we're going to do is with Peyton Manning from 2007. Yep. Yeah, so Peyton we're going to do that one. Yes, with Peyton Manning, which has some pretty infamous sketches that are pretty timeless, and but I haven't watched the whole episode in a long time, so we'll see if the rest of the episode is good. But there is some very classic, great stuff in it, so I think we're gonna explore that for the retired Peyton Manning.
With the Peyton Manning, like United Way, where he's helping little
kids. Yes. Very, very famous. One of the funniest sketches ever.
Yes.
and the famous one where him and Will Forte are doing like the coach and the dancing and all that kind of stuff. The good stuff.
Yeah,
there's some good stuff on there. So I wanted to do a good episode, because I also considered there's a 90s one from 94 with Deion Sanders. And the only reason I considered it was it does have a Norm Macdonald Weekend Update with Opera Man. So like I figured that would be good. However, so that was tempting, because I've been trying to get one with Norm Macdonald for a little while. But when I went to look up some of the reviews for that episode, it's apparently next to Steven Seagal, one of the worst episodes of all time. So I didn't want to torture us.
Really? Oh, dang.
With something terrible. Really bad. Yeah. So, but I figured we'd do something good. So we'll watch Peyton Manning, and of course that's around the time where Bill Hader was starting, and Will Forte, and kind of the newer cast, and Andy Samberg. So we'll get to see them kind of at the beginning of their run. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Didn't Steven Seagal get banned from Saturday Night Live for doing something crazy or something weird? That, like,
I think
really
it's just like really hard to work with. Like he just didn't want to rehearse. Like he didn't attend like most of the meetings. Like how most of the hosts, like they get there on like Tuesday. Like they basically hang out all week and prep. And they kind of prove sketches, and they kind of they rehearse. He like didn't want to do any of that. So they were just like, fuck that. You're never coming to SNL again. Steve Seagal, like you're done. Like a lot they would have him again anyways, but it's pretty. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, and we'll definitely keep everyone posted on that. You can find what we have coming next over on the Movie Hero 2121 over on Twitter and Instagram. We always post everything there, and also on the Facebook page, Schmodown Friends and Family, so you can find all the updates of what's coming up next. and I've been thinking that I might want to even post a schedule, maybe like a week or two out, just so people can kind of know like what's coming up. So I've been thinking about doing something like that, because usually we just end up posting like the day of, and so it's a little hard for the people to know what we have coming down the pike. So to watch for that. I'm gonna try to do a little something with that'll show our upcoming schedule. So yeah, so you can have a little heads up. But yeah, it's been fun though. So good times.
All right.
Yeah. I'm excited for the Peyton Manning one, and then we'll see what we're gonna do for the season.
Yeah, like I said, I'll kind of skim through a couple of those episodes, and I'll pick out one of the better ones at least for us to watch. So we'll do that for this, the same season, but I'll pick out one of the better ones kind of in the later half, and we'll pick one and do one of those. So we'll figure it out.
All right, sounds good. Well, I don't know if you want to promote anything or let us know where we can find you.
I mean, Movie Hero 2121 is the Twitter page. We'll post about the shows, and then like I said, we have our other Seinfeld show. We'll get to at some point this month, and we'll do the next episodes of our Seinfeld show. Hello from Movie Hero, and we'll do that. Yeah, so we'll get to that at some point this month, and we'll continue some Seinfeld talks. That's a lot of fun. We both love Seinfeld. Yeah, we'll figure something out, and then we've got tier ranker fights coming up later this week that I'm sure Jordan will tell you guys about.
Yeah, so we got a tier ranker fight coming up this Friday that is going to be best alternative summer sports movie. So like basically any movie that's about a sport besides like the 5 major sports. So we're not going to have any baseball, basketball, football, hockey, or combat sports, or any car racing, but like anything else, to be fair game. So we're gonna have movies about tennis, bowling, like
golf,
pool,
soccer,
all
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that should be a fun time. We're doing that in honor of the Olympics, the summer Olympics we have going on, and then coming up next week we're going to be starting our spin-off series. It's going to be movie fights battles where we're going to have 4 of us, or we're going to have the 3 co-hosts, and we're each going to submit our top 16 movies we can't stand but other people like. So like we just don't understand why people like those movies. So like we're gonna have some fun debates there, because we're gonna have Malcolm Leia on the episode, and I already mentioned on our show we did yesterday though that he sent me his list over, and some of the movies that he has are movies that I really like some that I love. They're like some of my favorite movies. So we're gonna.
I know mine are gonna be ones that I know people like. Yeah, that I know people like. But yeah, mine are similar. I guess I'll save some of my just worst movies ever for another list. But yeah, I'm trying to keep mine to mainstream stuff I just can't stand. But you already got a preview of one the other night, because I talked a little bit about Monty Python and the Holy Grail, so that'll probably be on my list, just to spoil one of them. But that'll be the fun part, is coming up with the movies and just seeing who out of the group kind of picked that movie and why. And I'm sure there'll be some debate of like, what are you talking about? That movie's great. It's going to be a lot of that. Right. So yeah, that should be interesting, and seeing who hates what. Yeah.
You don't like that movie? Come on, that's one of my favorite movies.
Come on. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, and then a week from this Friday, we're going to be doing best and worst 90s sitcoms, so that should be a fun one. We're going to be doing it for tier ranker fights. So the good thing about tier ranker fights, we'll have a little more time to kind of talk a little more slightly in depth about them, so we can kind of talk about our favorite sitcoms, and then we'll just rank them, and we'll see what kind of top 10 we can come up with. So yeah, we'll be doing that, and then. If you haven't gotten enough of us yet, we're going to be going live and here in about 15, 20 minutes or so with the episode of our podcast, Podcast League Now. So that's coming up. We're going to have a special guest, Malcolm Lay, joining us tonight, because Chris had some other things going on tonight. So we're going to have Malcolm step in for us. So I can look forward to that. So yeah, but this has been a good time. So yeah, we'll
All right.
be back next month. Since we've made Live from Movie here a monthly series now, but yeah, be sure to follow us on all the socials at Movie Hero 2121. Make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe and the little bell so you can know whenever we go live. And if you ever want to be a guest on any of our shows, or if you have any ideas for any topics for us to do for like a tournament fight or a tier ranker fight, you can we have an email that's moviehero2121@gmail.com. So you can hit us up.
Well,
there
and
too,
we're
so.
prepping, as far as SNL related, we're prepping a tournament fight for SNL recurring characters, like original characters. For SNL, we want to do a tournament fight that's kind of SNL related, so that should be fun because I've already kind of started the rough draft of that list of like not necessarily the impressions, but like like tonight we saw the Boston teens. They're kind of recurring characters, so they'll be on that list. Things like that. But different characters over the years, recurring ones over the decades. So Stefan, Nick Burns, the computer guy, whatever, Samurai. Spartan cheerleaders, John Belushi's samurai character, all that good stuff will be in there. We'll throw those guys in. Oh yeah, Matt Foley, of course. Yeah, all that stuff. We'll throw them in a unique tournament fight, and that should be fun. Maybe we'll try to reach out and get some other people who love SNL, and we'll vote on some of those. So something SNL related. We don't have a date for that yet, but that'll be coming up soon. Yeah, the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll be doing that probably roughly about 2 weeks from now. So.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, that's the good thing about tournament fights, Jordan, is we can do all kinds of topics for tournament fights. It doesn't have to be movies. You can do all kinds of stuff. And like I said, we can even do another SNL one down the line with some of those famous impressions. So we can do Will Ferrell's George Bush. We can do Dana Carvey's George Bush Sr. We can do Jim Brewer's Joe Pesci from Joe Pesci Show. Yeah, Will Ferrell's Alex Trebek. We can do Vincent Price of Bill Hader. We can do all kinds of stuff. That can be really, really fun. So we can do that too. Mm-hmm.
Well, awesome. Yeah, it'll be a fun time. So, but anyways, so that'll do it here tonight for Live from Movie Hero. So for Austin Pez Howell, I've been Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and we'll see you next time.